know what you guys do with yourselves on Friday evenings, but we play Overwatch, and we've got our last match of the day coming up. It is Shanghai versus Dallas 2, the Redux, the Remix, Electric Boogaloo, whatever you want to call it. It's time for that salty run back, Matt.
Yeah, we had this match last week, and then this is like, I believe, the first occurrence we've had where a team would play against an opponent in
It won't be
the
last time, though. This will happen a few times.
Yeah, and then the next game is right against the same opponent. But you see NYXL sitting at the top, Vancouver right underneath, those two teams dominating. Somehow Philly's still kind of like under the radar, like snuck their way into third. This is a big match for the Fuel, sitting in 8th. You need to win this. Look, I mean, they win this with a decent map count. I mean, they can get back up, you know, right about like 4th or 5th. So this is a big match for Dallas, and then the Dragons, you know, sitting at 2 and 3. This is an opportunity to potentially make the playoffs.
I mean, last time these two teams went head-to-head, Shanghai looked very good sort of throughout a lot of the series. Ding was really impactful, not only on the Diva, but also on the Sombra. It looked like Dallas had a lot of problems sort of dealing with that. They did take that first map away. All through the series, it really did look neck and neck. Both teams trying for the Sombra, trying to get it to make a difference. You know, both Zenyatta's on both sides of the wall trying to avoid those. This was that moment. I'd say Dorado give it over to Dallas. They probably would have won the map anyway. I was talking to the Dallas guys after, and they said we were probably going to win that next fight. They did push a little bit further anyway, but that occasion of Youngjin walking off the payload and ending the round immediately secured Dallas' chances at a map 5, which they ended up winning. So both control maps for Dallas were very good.
Yeah, and I think you know, there's a quote from the Dragons where they kind of felt like whoever lost the first one was going to come out, potentially take this next one. I think this is where you could see like the coaching really pay off. You know, Dallas Fuel, you have Arrow, Jane, a few other coaches in the positional role. Maybe they make a difference, you know, some big VOD watching over the week.
And the victors last time, it's time to welcome them back to the stage once more. It's the Dallas Fuel. Last time around, AKM was actually named player of the match, and he sort of said on Twitter after, he said, I didn't actually feel like I had a great performance. He felt off, he felt low energy, as he described to me. I go and work out with this guy a couple times a week, so, you know, I get a lot of insights from sort of what's going on with Dallas. He just said, I just felt flat. Whereas Unco had an amazing performance for Dallas in general.
Unco's always
has
good.
Elements to step up.
Unco never really has like a poor game when you watch him in the flex support role. Always, you know, sitting in the back, landing some shots at range. I think like they need OG to play really strong today. Can't have him kind of just diving in on his own, getting into some trouble. I think he's got to play really strong.
Yeah, he was definitely exploited last week by none other than their opponents. Coming back for a second bite at the apple, it's the Shanghai Dragons. Two and 3 currently in the league.
There you go. You know, Youngjin going the wrong way.
That's fine. I mean, it wasn't the card he was walking away from this time. It's fine. That joke's never going to get old.
He's having flashbacks. He's like, I don't want to go up there again. But now he's mustered up the courage to get back on stage.
I mean, the playoff chances are on the line.
He's laughing, dude. Look at him.
Oh, yeah.
He's like,
he knows. He knows.
He's like, that's going to be on watch point. He's like, I was on watch point for fails last week. This time I ain't even walking out of the tunnel right. Like, it's tough.
So Gregory going to be starting in the roster here for the Shanghai Dragons. No Ding yet, so you know, a true master of the art of playing Diva present here for the Dragons to start things off when we go to control. See, you know, we saw a lot of great stuff from Luffy as well, support-wise. I was really impressed with him last
It's a very strong roster. I think a lot of us expected this roster by the end to potentially be in the top 8 overall at the end of the year, making it to the season playoffs. And I think it'd be a really nice thing for their fans and just the start of this new season to make the Stage 1 playoffs. It'd be huge for the Dragons.
So far, any wins against the Boston Uprising and the Chengdu Hunters under their belt. So, you know, the Dragons definitely need to be in search of more high-profile takedowns.
Get the ones you can get first, then we'll worry about the upset wins there.
Well, I don't know how you put the Dallas Fuel on that particular ranking, but they're 2 and 3 right now. They are just inside the bracket for making playoffs, and have looked better as each week has gone on. We definitely had a lot of questions raised last week about this gentleman here and how he fits into the team. That was OG. And how Dallas play around their main tank. OG wants to be aggressive. He wants to start off a fight. Unco, quite the opposite. He's a very good survivalist, especially in the face of teams that use Sombra extensively. And I would say the Dragons is definitely one of them. Here's your map set presented to you by Toyota, where we see How this throwdown all starts off, it's going to be on Nepal to begin things, and I can tell you, it'll be on Village.
Yeah, and I think as you mentioned, whether they play passive or aggressive, I think that's really kind of like what the Dallas Fuel need to decide on, right? Unko and I would say AKM to the extent are a little bit more reactionary, defensive, a little bit more passive, not as aggressive, where a player like OG and probably Zachary as well want to get aggressive. They want to force the issue. So I think it's just how this team kind of adjust with time and to each other.
Yeah, we've seen the Fuel try and play a couple of different setups, especially on these control maps. If you think back to the match against the Guangzhou Charge, for example, they did try and play a little bit more of that Widowmaker focused game. They attempted to go head-to-head with Happy on the sniper role, which wasn't going to be easy. Gamsu here, he's actually just unbinding all his Boston Uprising sprays, so don't worry about it. Neko had the same issue last week.
It was an accident, I swear. I didn't mean to come loaded in with all the Boston Uprising sprays and to spray them everywhere.
Yes, and made sure my teammates had the X spray that they could just put over the top of it. Yeah. That wasn't the plan at all.
Ah, what an unfortunate accident.
So, I mean, Gamsu on this team has looked really generally quite good. He fits into this shell, I would say, in the Shanghai Dragons.
He wasn't bad for Boston. I just think after a while, like, both sides kind of got tired of each other a bit. I think, for Boston, you had some new players coming in that you were really excited about. And Gamsu they had another opportunity for him. RCK is going to be playing Mei here to kick things off. So Mei on this point can actually be very effective. The ice wall to split players off, get them stuck inside the point, create some easy advantages for your team.
Yeah, we see this a lot from the Florida Mayhem, for example, and a fair bit in contenders lately. A lot of teams are really trying to use Mei on control, especially where teams just know how to stand and deliver. Oh, OG! He gets picked off, he's stuck in the corner there, and Shanghai just collapse upon the Fuel. Again, in a short fight, Mei is not able to do so much. You want that Mei to be able to hang around for a while, freeze up a couple of targets, try and mess up the tempo of an attacking team, and RCK switching straight away.
He'll go over to D.Va, his natural position, although we do see RCK flex a decent amount to other DPS heroes and whatnot. Let's see what they walk into. Gamsu's going to play very far up. You can gain Nazari a ton of charge. Just taking those bubbles, standing in the doorway is. It's going to be the Dallas Fuel. They're going to use speed boost. They're going to wrap all the way around.
Yeah, quick rotation from the Fuel, actually. Shanghai maybe like a beat or two slow. They still get onto the point, though. And Dallas is still setting up.
Look at how far ahead, though, Gamsu is. He has Shatter. OG's not even close.
Watch him just lay it down. He'll wait for OG to lift the shield, and then he brings the hammer down. Just what the doctor ordered. Or maybe not if you're Dallas Fuel's position, perhaps. I should be worried about their condition in that case, but Shanghai looked very good. Again, a cheaply won fight. Earth Shatter, rally, committed, and that's all they needed.
So now they'll wait for Gamsu to come back. They're just trying to chase RCK, maybe get a DMAC there, which would have been big, reset his ultimate economy, but Dallas trying to take advantage. They want to get some space here up on the high ground.
Gamsu, we wants to get to the back line as quickly as he can. It's going to be the Graviton Surge now. Transcendence immediately for Unco here, and that self-destruct from Shanghai finds OG. It was sky high, but still enough to pick out the right half from the Dallas Fuel and the Dragons are looking for more value. They've invested a few ultimates in this fight, so they want some more kills to back it up. DM doesn't mind that he's charging up AKM as long as he can find that kill, but he's knocked skyward, and the Dragons have to back away.
He turned into a Pharah there for a little bit. He was real high up. Yeah. So Gamsu's going to have another Shatter here, and OG's just kind of working on his first. Dallas is going to play the point, but look, Dallas goes to work the point, but players are so spread out here.
Completely caught. Gamsu with the charge on Zachary. OG not able to slow down the momentum with his Earth Shatter whatsoever. And Gaggery is going to get the job done. Oh man, this is one-sided as heck. RCK trying to go for that self-destruct, but it's only closer. And he just gets ground out at the end of the round. That was a very quick round one knockout.
That's where I think you see some of the Dallas Fuel not on the same page. A few of the players go to the point, a few of the players kind of play a little bit off of the point, and it's just that they committed so far in, and then they just kind of wrap around. They're able to take out Unco in the side room.
Well, I'll put it this way. Some of them are reading Dr. Seuss and some are reading Tolkien, you know?
Yeah. I feel
different books, fam. Ain't even that same tome.
I don't understand half the things you say, just to make that clear.
Oh, really?
Yeah. Yeah, I wasn't sure if it was clear or not.
Oh. Okay. Might be a somber in this round for the Dallas Fuel. Wouldn't hate to see it. RCK shown us that he knows how to make use of it. So that'll be the opening here. It means that Dallas Fuel must forego the D.Va, which means that they can't really eat grabs, or at least they don't have a chance to eat grabs. And, well, they don't have the bomb combo to set up here. They need to make those EMPs to really do the job. Shanghai are like, wait, that's what we do. We like the Sombra.
But let's see how. Oh, Shanghai actually, they get pressured out here. Higuri, she did get hacked there and didn't have any defense matrix a little bit early on. And you know, you can ignore the Sombra if you get aggressive and push on through, but you can't ignore the Sombra if you're just going to stay on the point. Because look at this, RCK, she's able to farm it up. They do control the point here, though, as Gamsu's making his way back. OG comes back into the fight here as well.
But because Dallas don't opt into a full fight, a full commitment, they don't give too much ult percentage over.
And I mean, you can farm up this EMP pretty quick, and you'll have like EMP rally to come in on. So that'll be the rally that's used there for Shanghai. So you're going to get some extra armor here.
Yeah, it will last for a little while. I think they really would have preferred the healing from it, but now here comes the EMP on a 5. Luffy was able to avoid that one, but he doesn't quite have that Transcendence yet, and he might not even want to use it here. Geguri and Gamsu being down and Yongjin sort of being on his own on the point. I think he saved that one for a rainy day. And the Shanghai Dragons get 33%, 1/3 of the way.
Yeah, I mean, Luffy did a nice job avoiding getting hit by the EMP. The issue is he didn't have the Transcendence to just fly on in and save everybody. He gets a little bit late. Smart move to just not
but at the same time, if he gets EMP'd there, he'll still have armor. So because of the aftermath effects of Brigida's rally, he's still not at one.
He will also still die very quickly.
Yeah. But then again, armor's way more effective at damage that comes in very small amounts, like Sombra or Tracer or Diva. So I would keep him alive longer, that's all I'm saying. AKM does have a Graviton Surge, but he's focused on working through Geguri right now. She cannot mitigate his damage. DM is taken down by a Fire Strike though, and the rest of the Shanghai Dragons are trying to back up, but Gamsu gets split away. And they'll push on. This is what the Dragons were looking for early on Village. You win a fight, you try and get some extra value to make up what you spent, which is just the 2 ultimates.
Yeah, that's big for Dallas. As they win that fight, they're able to hold on to Transcendence in Sound Barrier. They also have the EMP. It was a 3-player shatter from OG that opens that up. So he lands the Earth Shatter, connects with 3 players, follows it up. And now Co-Mechanics actually uses Sound Barrier just to engage, right? Because you know it'll get all ripped off by this EMP. Has to be careful.
The Graviton Surge, though, for both sides. Unco, Transcendence, no surprise there, but Zachary didn't quite get behind the shield. However, OG had his up. Gamsu tried to go for that Earth Shatter, but doesn't get it through. Geguri now trying to chase down OG, but the Sound Barrier is going to make him durable enough to withstand the Frog Queen's onslaught. Just desuited, and she will be removed. It's 73% and ticking for the Dallas Fuel, and they still have that all-important EMP in their back pocket.
And this is the game. It's like EMP, like when you know it's on one side, the Lucio wants to like hide and potentially just come in, save everybody with the Sound Barrier. But if the Sombra holds on to the EMP, and let's say you get a pick, then everybody has to run out. It's just kind of a game of chicken here. It's coming down, though, to the wire here where Shanghai is going to have to use Sound Barrier and walk into this EMP.
Interesting decision from RCK to reveal himself there. He still tries to go for the EMP and he gets 4. That was a very quickly placed translocator to the high ground, but he stalled out long enough so that when Dallas win this fight, there's no chance for the Dragons to get back in this round. DM's trying to play from the home ground. OGE goes for that shatter. I think getting Gamsu was probably enough there, and the grab keeps the Dragons off the points.
It's a really nice use of the EMP there by RCK. He actually has the translocator set up on that rooftop. When he translocates over to that, he knows that's where Shanghai has been approaching from over and over again. And he's able to like slide down the roof and connect with Coma, so you didn't even have that Sound Barrier come in the right time.
RCK biding his time towards the end of that round, definitely paying off a little bit. So you see how Dallas seek their plays, interestingly enough. They have the 2 supports next to each other in the main tank. This is intentional for some teams. You see how they're sort of sorted out on the top right, can indicate this.
Yeah, so that's where the translocator was.
Just sat there the whole time.
He knew exactly this is where they were going to push from. That's where they pushed from 3 straight pushes. And you see in that position, no way the Lucio could really hide up there. Really nice place.
It's quite clever because he could have just walked out to them and EMP'd them when they dropped, but he fired at them to actually give them pause for thought, so the timer would go to 99.
They couldn't even speed to engage onto the point at that moment, so really nice play.
RCK very pleased with that one. We saw him on the May briefly on the Village round, which didn't really get a whole lot done. He switched off of that one almost instantly.
It did nothing. They ended up losing the fight instantly with the May.
So what do you think about Dallas being on the same page or not being the same page?
I think they look kind of up and down at times. Like when it looks good, it looks really good. When things are starting to go out of control and bad, it's really bad. I do think though it has to do with a little bit of their like shot calling and who's calling. Like, you know, Unco and AKM are pretty vocal. They've had tons of success in the past teaming together. So I imagine those two want to be a little bit more vocal. But you're relying on your main tank with a lot of things in this meta, right? So it's like, how can those two, Unko and AKM, get on the same page with OG and what he wants to do?
See, Closer and AKM are actually very close on this team. They're very good friends. I believe Unko knows him as Closey as his nickname. Anyway, a couple technical difficulties here. We're going to work through. We'll come back after a very short break and we'll be back into the action. Evidently a couple of kinks to be ironing out there, but hey, fantastic May cosplayers. What RCK was going for in that first round. I think she pulls it off a lot better than he did.
Yeah.
That's the way it goes.
So it looks like we're going to get back into game shortly. All tied up here. 1-1 in map 1.
Yeah, the lads on the fuel are also back in.
Looks like everybody's good to go.
So 1-1 here on the map of Nepal. It was an important draw or a map to pick up for the Dallas Fuel in the last series they played. As the Shanghai Dragons really punished them over the Assault and Escort game time. So the Fuel were happy to get this one, and they're going to have to do it once again, sort of shore themselves up going into, again, maps where we might see, you know, more somber inclusions from Shanghai. And that was a real issue for Dallas. How do we not... Like, Dallas were getting EMP'd. Unko would actually avoid EMP Transcendence, and they'd still lose the fight.
A little "Let's Go Dallas" chant going on.
Yeah, I hear that.
At Blizz Arena. They're always like a fan favorite. It's like Negri, she gets D-Max, so that's tough to lose that at the beginning of the fight.
Discord Orb on Gumshoe as well.
Oh, he's dead.
Oh, he got the Mega. RCK trying to punish him, but doesn't get him. Gumshoe slinks away with just a little bit of health.
Did a fantastic job staying alive. I was like 100% sure he was dead.
It's like the Italian job level getaway plan. A lot of fighting will be happening over this side of the map, and Unko, ooh, pooped off. He's in the drink now. Gamsu wants to push forward a little bit more. OG places the defensive bubble down. Closer tries to slip inside AKM. Goes for the grab. That's an aggressive commitment. He was very low, and he does go down as a result. The self-destruct, well, it doesn't do a heck of a lot in the grand scheme of things, but getting rid of Demon Geggery is the more important factor for the Dallas Fuel, and they've done so. 4 players versus 4 on the point.
What an odd first engagement there. AKM just grabbing right away as the Dallas, they may not even be able to put this point here. You have Primal Rage for Gamsu still available. Sound Barrier here for Koma. He gets pushed up against the wall, not going to have that ability. Transcendence though from Luffy, so you're going to keep everybody topped up. DM's coming back with Grav. So the Dragons may get a good amount of...
No, what Grav, Matt? There ain't none! RCK eats that one up! And Gamsu now dejected.
I'm cursing these Arias.
Oh man, he was hoping for a little bit more than that. I guess we were too in a way. Yongjin over the edge. No floaties for that guy.
Every time we've talked about a Grav being like crucial and big, like the guy just runs onto the point, just throws it in there, gets eaten. See, DM lands at Grav. No, let's say you connect 2 players in that. You have 1 more player coming back from spawn. You're looking at like 60-70% here for the Dragon.
DM's got burst down, stunned immediately. Great little bash there from Zachary. That's he's playing quite the bouncer here in Casa del Nepal.
I would have liked to see Dallas in the original engage, by the way. And they do get Geggery demeched to get aggressive at that point. You have everybody up. Nobody's like dangerously low. And even if you go in and you're able to trade that out, it's still really good. They probably would have had the point first.
2 rallies from both sides. It'd be a gamble for the Fuel to push too deeply into Dragon's territory.
They have to know they're way ahead in terms of grab charge, again, when both grabs came out. So
you can play ahead as I thought they'd be, though, Matt. To be honest with you. Zachary, the very important repair pack there. Oh! Geggery, it's AKM's grab!
I'm just not going to talk about it anymore.
Cast the curse to the max! AKM now has gone down. DM, environmental kills are plenty coming from both Lucio's here. And Geggery, cheeky little self-destruct in the back corner to take down Closer. Now the sound barrier for the Shanghai Dragons. Now they get their motors running. They got everything they needed. They want to try and get rid of Zachary in the corner. They find him in an odd transcendence from Unko here. Presumably just to stall the point out for a little bit longer. Definitely doesn't do much for Dallas in the grand scheme of the fight.
I think maybe he was trying to get around the corner, keep Zachary alive.
But I mean, Zachary would have been body blocked by Gamsu using Primal Rage in front of him.
And then I think also like Gamsu almost at the same time as body blocking Unko from coming down the staircase. So
Messy.
not able to keep, because you keep Zachary alive, like Brigitte has so much sustain as it is, like maybe been able to play for another one. Going up the high ground here. The grab that comes in from DM.
Oh, they're trying to keep Unko alive with the bubble. Didn't work. Spoilers. And now the Dragons could push out a little bit. I mean, if they can sort of get some more damage for Luffy here, or even DM, who wants to get to his next grab as soon as possible. AKM remains about 45% ahead. Speaking of percentages, the Dragons are pretty much even it up here on Sanctum. Here's a self-destruct from Geggery. The Dragons have to split and skedoodle, and they get away from that self-destruct at least. But now they have to regroup and push forward. They do that right there. They have to take a couple extra seconds to get everyone together. But now it's go time. The Dragons are getting dangerously close to ending this map right here. RCK has that self-destruct right now. The defense matrix is just being employed to keep OG nice and healthy before they fight. The Dragons are just trying to lather them up in damage to begin this fight. And they found Unko. One of the key pieces is missing for the Dallas Fuel. They needed to get him towards his Transcendence. But now it's going to be OG to follow him. 99% here for the Shanghai Dragons. They took the fight at just the right time. RCK to take to the sky and try to find something over the edge. I don't think DM and Gubs were ready for that one. The positioning threw it in. I think they thought it would just be up and down. So now the Dallas have a 3v3 on the point. Luffy's over on the left-hand side, but Zachary goes down. RCK has to keep himself alive, and the sound barrier comes too late. And the mini diva was knocked off the edge anyway. OG's trying to head to the backline, and Unko trying to interact with Geggery in some way on the point. OG returns, but he has a Discord orb on him, and Luffy is sending those orbs one after another to chase him down. Coma, he gets landed on by OGE. And with a Graviton Surge here, there might be an opportunity. Closer somehow managed to stay alive. Another Transcendence here for Unko. He died early in the last fight, but he can use this one. RCK on the Wrecking Ball, and Dallas get it!
And the Dragons have used Transcendence, so you just have Zenyatta here alive with 3 tanks. Dallas may flip this. This is unreal. This is unreal.
DM dueling Zachary. Zachary's just waiting for the shield to go. Then he shield bashes forward. It was a long fight as well, so the Dallas Fuel maintain control, and now they're at 95%. Scant seconds remain for the Dragons to retake. Dallas, they back up a little bit though. Maybe trying to regroup. They force Gamsu to go aggressively, tries to go primal, but they stun him up immediately. Sound barrier keeps him alive and long enough, and Yongji now comes in on the Reaper. He's looking for Unko, but he's forced to go into shadow forward. Back off on the point though. 2 environmental kills. AKM and Zachary go over the edge, and now the Dragons are in position to flip this one back. Oh, Unko, he has to go for the Transcendence. RCK has to drop the balls now onto the point. And he's trying to. Unco's forced off. Coma's low. DM just needs to find the pick on closer, but the sound barrier is making it impossible to find. Yongjin elsewhere gets headshot by Unco and removed. Dallas have control of the point, but the reinforcements are coming for the fuel, and DM's down. Self-destruct, Geggery finds at least RCK. Coma's off on the left-hand side, just trying to stay alive, but the point is now going back to Dallas. Gamsu has got something to say about that one. He gets in there, and he gets burst down oh so fast. AKM brings in that Tracer, and now that overtime, it's going to tick down awfully fast. Luffy's trying to get to the point, and Ochi's trying to knock him away. He's done a pretty good job so far, but Luffy's very speedy. It's still enough! I'm lost for words!
The Dragons had that! And then it was RCK with 2 kills with the self-destruct.
The field stacked victory!
Oh,
I can't even believe it! I can't believe it! I say that all the time!
What was that?
Hands in hands for the fuel. What a way to start this series. How will any of us have any energy left? By the end of it, we'll find out. We'll see you guys after the break.
The Overwatch League is powered by Intel. Game, record, stream without compromise on Intel Core i7. And by Omen by HP, the official PC and display of the Overwatch League.
I've seen a lot of Overwatch in my last 3 or 4 years of casting it. I don't know if I've seen a round
I don't know what that
quite
was.
like that. Okay, so no, I'm not going to ask you to break it down actually, because it's probably.
No, we had like a Reaper there at the end. We had the Wrecking Ball come out. Like it was just made 0 sense.
We're back here anyway, and Dallas get that first map, which is pretty important for them, I think.
To the Dragons though, come on, man. Like, come on, like you had it. You had 2 players on the point. I think maybe Gamsu like didn't have his bubble on cooldown, and then when I was looking at the overhead map view, it looked like they were trying to potentially have DM like soak up the damage with the Zarya bubble, but I don't know if he timed one for like Gamsu as well, but he didn't time it for himself because they both blew up. But that's a tough loss there for the Dragons.
We saw a bunch of things happening, throughout that period of time. We saw the switch from AK.
That's a great way to explain that. A bunch of things happened.
Maybe not the analysis we're hoping for. I'm just saying, AKM switch over towards that Tracer.
Yeah.
We saw Widowmakers get challenged down, so
okay,
it's
so,
down for me.
So let's see. The self-destruct comes down. Did he jump out of his bubble? Into the self-destruct?
I'm not sure.
That's definitely what that looked
that
like.
2K there was pretty big. Now,
That's
from the
massive,
trajectory, from the trajectory that it seemed like, it actually seemed like that bomb was actually just going up and down. But the bomb actually came up from the point and ended up going behind that wall. So there was actually some sort of horizontal motion there. Like it didn't come down where I expected it to as a caster while I was watching that. So that might also caught the teams off guard. Also, they couldn't see the bomb as it went up. So they really, it might have been tough for them to know it's come down. So Ding comes in, who has just been stellar over the course of multiple games here. We see a lot of really great Sombra play, especially from him.
Look, the Dragons, I mean, if they like close out some of these games, like they could have won that series against Dallas last week. They let Dallas off the hook here in map number 1. Now, like we were talking about earlier, they get 2 wins, that's fantastic, right? Everybody's cheering, confetti's coming down, whatever. But like, you gotta. These are the games you need to win against teams that are right like in your bracket in terms of, skill and expected rating and like standings in the league. Like these are the 50-50 games that determine the playoffs, and you can't just keep letting people off the hook. Like the Dragons can be much better than what they are, man.
And neither team is necessarily overly benefited from having to play this matchup twice in a row. Like it is always close. It is never certain. But if Dallas come out the other side of this being 4-2, they look vastly better for playoffs than the Dragons, who would be 2-4.
I mean, look, the Dragons win this series. They have the 3-3. You win that last game, 4-3. Some other crazy stuff happens. You're right there.
Some other crazy stuff happens.
Oh yeah, look what happened map 1.
Yeah, no.
You don't think something crazy?
No, I believe in it. I believe it happens in the Overwatch League far more than I would really expect.
I mean,
Yet
it
we
literally
still call
just
it
happened.
crazy. So Ding, no surprise to us on the Sombra. I actually see RCK will be playing the same here.
I think at this point, when you see Ding in the lineup, you're going to see some Sombra play as trying to go for the hack there on RCK. It's interesting, kind of like Sombra's going for hacks on each other. You're obviously not able to use the translocator at that time. If you're a Sombra without translocator and you can't get out, you're pretty much dead. So RCK has to be very careful. Same with Ding.
Also, both Sombras are going to each other's backlines, potentially finding one another's translocators and destroying them. If you're a Sombra and you're about to use a translocator that doesn't actually exist because someone destroyed it and you're about to die, you feel pretty bad.
Or you see them like sit on top of the translocator, hack as soon as they use it. So you see Ding here just farming up AKM for some ult charge.
Didn't survive it.
Closer drop though. Yeah, I mean this should be Shanghai able to take point A.
I mean the attention of the Dallas Fuel was so split that Ding gets to spend so much of that fight just sitting and doing damage. Gets 80% towards that EMP. It's vastly ahead of RCK. Very good showing from the Dragons early on, and really they just play together.
And then do you want to stay on this if you're the Dallas Fuel much longer? You're not exactly close to an EMP. You know the Dragons can take a full fight investing pretty much just EMP. And then at that point, you're playing for like the last fight here from point A to B around your own EMP. So.
Well, I don't know. Talking to some of these players from the Dallas Fuel last week, they said, yeah, like Sombra was a problem for us. We just didn't really have great responses to it. Maybe this is their response, play Sombra against Sombra. A lot of early damage there towards the Dragons, but the EMP just lets them smooth over the latter part of this fight. RCK gets hacked there, and he wasn't going to be going anywhere anyway.
I mean, that's what I was talking about, right? You use the EMP, you get a free fight using that ability. RCK will have his in the next fight. But, you have, let's say for argument's sake, Luffy stays out of position, right? He doesn't get caught by the EMP. He comes in with a Transcendence. Dragons may win that fight, and they're going to have a very good time going from A to B as well. They're going to set a very good time for the overall map.
Ooh, cheeky. Didn't quite get that hack off. Then Zachary's having to chase down Luffy. That's your EMP, and it affects most of the Dragons.
I'm out of here.
So both teams able to leverage Sombra, but we kind of knew that already.
Be right back.
So now Ding in the just kind of like behind enemy lines there. Just you can't really poke for damage. I mean, with Breezy, you get stunned, some damage comes through, and you're dead, and then the team's just waiting even longer. So, see, maybe he can connect with like a hack onto OG's shield, and then you can get a big shatter, right? Like from the high ground, a lot of avenues you can land.
I think
a quick
Ding's looking
hack.
for it. I think he's actually looking for that right now. You see him, he's probably at the bottom of your screen right now. He's actually dueling with Closer inside that room.
There's hack on OG, they got it.
OG's forced to back away now. The Transcendence has to come into play. Gamsu gets caught up in a grab himself now. Still swinging both Reinhardts, but it's Yongji to go down first. OG lands the charge up against the road cases there. And now Unko's in a great position to continue this avalanche of damage. Ding never got to use EMP, he never got there in that fight. But the Dallas Fuel, again, that's a pressure valve for them to let off.
So he gets the hack onto OG, and then Gamsu gets a shatter, but actually they had a hack going from RCK onto Gamsu as well. So not able to like follow through like a fire strike or like something like a pin to put down some extra damage there. That could have been really bad for the Dallas Fuel. Nice play by RCK to get that hack off. It'll be a rally here for the Dragons to open things up.
EMP only catches OGE though, just the one player. The Dallas Fuel did a good job of disengaging for most of that early fight. But now can they follow it up? Gamsu swinging very heavily towards the Dallas Fuel players and were knocked down by the shadow. That's a huge combo! Oh, it's nasty! Luffy now is just going to get wrecked. And DM wasn't far behind. The Dallas Fuel managed to hold on.
If you're going to solo EMP the Rhine, why not just get on top of the jail there and try and get a hack off instead?
It looks like they were trying to catch someone out.
I mean, no, they tried to catch OG a little bit further up and then use the hack to get him to drop the shield right and then push on forward. And then you just see how much more effective RCK is on the other side. He lands with all
it's
six.
It's so telegraphed. You open that
space.
fight with a rally. So the Dallas Fuel know that you're trying to fight them. You literally rally from 100 paces away, and then you run at them with a speed boost. And Dallas were able to just see this, disengage, and not get the whole team EMP.
And Zachary makes a heads-up play. RCK actually gets hacked there, doesn't have the translocate. He runs through rally all the way over to keep him up.
Now comes to take it down. OG finds another good charge to the grab, but DM is right behind. Fire strike to finish that kill. And OG has got himself yet another Earth Shatter. Unko's Transcendence also very important, and RCK leads in that EMP race.
So, it'll probably come down to this next fight. No, probably to decide if the Dragons actually take this point, whether they get a good use of this EMP or not. A lot of area where the Dallas Fuel defense is set up here by the Saloon to hide supports from that line of sight. If they just kind of roll on through here with the rally and then into the EMP again, I imagine Dallas is going to have a better response, just like how they had last time. As RCK has his, so you have the counter EMP available here.
There it is. Hits pretty hard.
All six.
Ding won't have a chance to use his. And you see, before that fight started, Ding tried to force Transcendence out of Unko. It was pretty subtle, but he jumped into the Saloon, trying to force him to go for that ultimate. Unko, no, just steal. Didn't go.
So get this, both of the Sombras have gotten their ult in almost the exact same time. A minute 39 seconds for RCK, Ding in a minute 37. The difference is RCK is connected with 16 enemies with the EMP, where Ding is only connected with 5. So you're just kind of like, with the Dragons are using it like really early, connecting with one player, trying to burn him down.
I wonder if the Shanghai Dragons want to fight. Yeah, probably. Here's the EMP, but the Graviton Surge already went down, and Unko descends from above.
It's
and he had
telegraphed.
Transcendence back.
Yeah,
I mean, it is clear. It is very obvious. I mean, these are long sight lines, right? I don't know about that EMP was maybe necessary for
I don't know if
RCK,
he
but...
needed that, yeah. But maybe he was trying to catch Ding, like...
Oh, here we go. OG, please. Oh, no, he's been spotted. Okay. Koma sees that OG was trying to go for a sneaky flanking shatter, so he now has to, behave himself and play with the rest of his team. 10 seconds remain and one team fight left for the Dragons. They have really been stopped by Dallas Fuel, who've displayed some good coordination in the last fights. Let's see if that continues. OG was hacked immediately. Zachary already taken down. Graviton Surge working out, and OG gets pinned up against the wall. But now the sound barrier is being brought into the fight. Unko, AKM, RCK, all knocked down. Unko gets back up though, and the counter Earth Shatter just wasn't that impressive. To the skies goes RCK with the translocator, but most of his team's already taken down. And now the Dragons can break through.
But that's a fight they should have had 3 fights ago. It wasn't telegraphed. Ding is up on the high ground. He's able to hack OG from behind. They're able to force the ultimates out, and they're able to take that fight. That fight could have happened No, with 2 minutes left for the Dragons, but you know, they kept going with that telegraphed offensive setup, and Dallas isn't going to fall for that over and over again. They knew exactly what was coming.
OG playing close. Discord Orb, careful. Gets given the bubble, which will take care of that Discord Orb, but he's still low on health. He needs to back away. No burst healing available unless it's through Zachary. And there goes the EMP on a 3. The Dallas Fuel are disengaging pretty well, and now Unco and the Transcendence can just sort of shrug off this Graviton. Now the Fuel want to get aggressive with the tail end of that Zenyatta ultimate, and this forces out the sound barrier for the Shanghai Dragons.
This is what Dallas wants. They want to play close. You win the fight, incredible. But look, the Dragons have had to invest so many ultimates just to potentially get the cart around the corner.
Trying to get rid of IK's charge here. Zachary defending him. Oh, he keeps the Zarya alive. That's huge.
And Unco 1v1's combing the back. So now with all those ultimates gone, look, the Dragons, they have Transcendence. They're about halfway to another Grav, and then they have Shatter. You're gonna walk right into this EMP though of RTK. Closer here with the sound barrier. Looking good for the Fuel on D.
Luffy has to EMP outside the studios and then run in. He should be expecting there to be an EMP right now, and he's gonna Transcendence preemptively here.
But you can just disengage if you're Dallas though.
RCK did use EMP, only caught Yongjin though. Gamsu down, it's a 1-for-1 trade so far in the fight. Shadow knocks Ding down to the backside, and RCK jumps on top. He's able to translocate out before Koma can get the revenge kill on Kim. And now Yongjin is, he's looking pretty average, I'll be honest with you. Not looking great. Dia now having to come forward, use his personal barrier in a desperate Graviton surge, but who's going to follow up the damage? Gamsu Fire Strike charges in, but the sound barrier was given by Closer in the backline, and it got to the Dallas Fuel. It kept them up. And this is where the Shanghai Dragons are going to be held.
Oh, and the Dragons had such a good first offensive push. You know, their push on to point A, they take it really fast. It's just those telegraphed offenses going to take point B that really sets them behind in the overall scope of the map.
The Fuel will have to be pretty pleased to have stopped the Dragons from finishing the map at all. The Sombra play from both teams, exquisite. More to come as the Fuel go on the attack after this. The Dallas Fuel and the Shanghai Dragons have made Hollywood look messier than Sunset Boulevard on a Saturday night. It is all happening here. Very brawly first half.
And I feel like it's another half where, you know, the Dragons on Nepal so close to winning. The Dragons there, they look great. You know, going into point A, they just steamroll through Dallas. You know, the first fight from A to B looks great. Big use of the EMP. It's after that where things just become way too predictable. Dallas, you know, a lot of smart players over there. I'm sure they can read into what's exactly happening. I think, you know, you get some better EMP uses there in the, you know, the second stage of the map. I think this is one where you see a 3 on the top of the scoreboard for the Dragons, probably with some time left.
OG might have looked strange to you, ladies and gentlemen, there, turning his shields backwards. It was to make sure that Sombra couldn't hack anyone behind it. Ding was already looking for his first victims. Oh, Gamsu! Oh, he had to turn that shield real quick, and this is going to force the Dragons to rotate to the high ground. Dallas probably want to disengage a little bit. Oh, Gamsu, he's too deep. Way too far ahead of the rest of the Dragons there. That we're going to rotate to the point before Dallas had a chance to back out, but RCK is looking for someone to hack.
So, you know, with a Reinhardt going against the Sombra makes your life even more difficult as Unko with a headshot on the Youngjin, a headshot on a Ding as well. Unko picks up 2. But you walk in, you want to put down some damage, you want to build up some charge for your Zarya. The bubble wears off, you got your shield down for a split second. Discord Orb hacked, no shield to use, you're dead. And right there, Gamsu gets picked off early.
I'm curious as to why either Gamsu or the Dragons in general wanted to rotate off the high ground so quickly without sort of everyone even... They weren't even all up the stairs yet before Gamsu had dropped down.
They had a ton of time. And there wasn't even like a tick, or close to a tick on the board. Dallas probably would have just rotated out. They would have
Well, I mean, teams in that position rotate to the cafe something.
Yeah.
Here's a rally. This is from the Dallas Fuel this time. And Gamsu again is the first casualty in this fight. OG's not far behind in all fairness. Ding managed to get to him with the orbs. Assistance of Luffy. 3 for 2 currently. Dallas Fuel have a few more players to push with though. They have 4 and they got 3 supports to work with. So with it just being Ding left alive, he's gonna scurry on home.
I think you see Dallas playing better in this map than the first one. I think the first map, with how close it is, probably a little bit of a wake-up call that they weren't just gonna kind of come in here and beat the Dragons again. Just a little bit of a wake-up call.
I talked to them though. They did not think that they would thrash them this time around. They were actually even more nervous than the first time. 4-person EMP. Ding wasn't affected crucially, so he's able to get a responsive EMP on the Dallas Fuel and find Green.
Great positioning by Unko.
Down again. Transcendence for Unko. Crucially, and AKM's able to burn DM down despite that transcendence for the Shanghai Dragons. Luffy's got to be feeling a little bit disenfranchised right now. Bernie had the stretchy limbs of his namesake to get him out of here. AKM clutch. Personal bubble for himself. Stays alive.
Yeah, that's what I was just going to say. Keeping AKM alive there is huge. You would have just had some squishies on the cart. So Zachary gets back into play. So this will be... And look, that's what the Dragons could have had. If they had a good EMP...
Look at your team. Now back to mine. Now back
if
to
they
yours.
had a good EMP,
now back to mine.
They would have been in just as good a spot as Dallas is here. As you see the golden box of victory, that's all the Dallas Fuel needs to get the cart to win the map.
Closer is currently hacked, so no chance of me a sound barrier until he gets that one off. Here's a shatter. DM and Luffy are knocked down. It's going to be an immediate sound barrier now from the Fuel and the Dragons.
They may not be able to push the court.
The EMP removes the sound barrier from the Dragons. They were waiting, and now Gamsu's the only player that can stand here. DM now has to step up and be accosted by 3 from the Fuel, and there it is. RCK, very timely EMP. Sound barrier would have been nice for the Dragons. Would have made it a little bit more durable, a little bit tankier going into those last moments of that fight, where they had that overshield denied from them. And at the end, it was a couple players that could just trickle onto the payload. Dallas Fuel, a cracking pace set there as they take map 2. We'll see you all after our halftime break.
The Overwatch League is brought to you by T-Mobile. High ground or low ground, T-Mobile has you covered.
Dallas is right in the thick of the Stage 1 playoff hunt, and they're well on their way to putting another W in the win column, up 2-0 over the Dragons at the break. Welcome back to halftime, everybody. Malik here, we got Bren, and we got Wolf joining us this time. Wolf, thank you so much.
No problem. Glad to join you.
Yo, so far in this half, man, my heart breaks for Shanghai.
Oh yeah,
sometimes,
it does.
man. You hate to see it.
You hate to see it. Yeah, it was that first map. I mean, I've got some very unkind words I could say, I think, for both teams, but I'm not going to. I'm going to use the more diplomatic phrase, which is clown fiesta, I think.
Clown fiesta.
Kind of appropriately describes what happened there.
Well, let's take a quick look at some highlights from the Clown Fiesta, starting with Nepal. Again, a little bit all over the place, both of these teams so far, right?
Yes, it was a little bit. I'm definitely not going to say clean. You know, we witnessed some clean Overwatch just a moment ago. These two teams have definitely been chaotic, definitely being quite a little bit all over the place. So it's an interesting one for me because I'm looking at the Shanghai Dragons and I'm feeling like they had a good start in this opening game. It was very close between both Dallas Fuel and the Shanghai Dragons, but I still feel like they're playing under their potential right now.
Yeah, I also feel like they're a very emotional team, and we know that losses like this are definitely going to affect them quite a lot, especially that lost fight there at the end, this one here, where this one just goes completely the other way.
Like, it was all over the place.
Okay, so where did they go wrong here? What happened here at that point?
Where do you begin with all of this, though? Like,
they had two people on the point.
You've got Youngjin switching to Reaper. You've got like DM on Widowmaker. You know, I could get into it, but it'll take us 30 minutes. So, you know.
I got like somewhat happy when I saw the Reaper pick come out, and then I was like, he was going one-on-one with Unco, and I was like, what is happening here?
I don't know. It was interesting.
All right, well, let's move on to Hollywood. Hollywood was a little cleaner for well, at least the Dallas Fuel. We saw RCK pop off quite a bit.
Yeah, I mean, I think the Sombra is kind of in this meta, one of the big X factors for a lot of these squads. And we're seeing in some of these team fights, the EMPs are really the deciding factor coming through for the Dallas Fuel. And it's ironic in this series in particular because Ding is known to be the stronger Sombra, but the tables certainly have turned here as Dallas is just winning these fights here with the Sombra repeatedly, not just on Hollywood, but also on Nepal as well.
Yeah, I got to give props to RCK personally as well for his performance on Sombra. Started out in the season, he wasn't fantastic. He has improved leaps and bounds. In fact, you look at these statistics, look at how much he's outperforming Ding in that regard. Like the amount of enemies that he's hacking, the amount he's EMPing is just absolutely absurd in comparison to what Ding was being able to put off. On top of the hero damage, of course, as well, you can see. Like these numbers, he's just putting out insane work on this hero in particular.
Yeah, I think that Dallas just prepared really well for this series. Instead of trying to beat Shanghai's Sombra with 3-3, they decided the best way to do this is to improve RCK, go kind of in a mirror Sombra versus Sombra matchup there. Right. And they clearly made it work. I mean, with such a little prep time, and it's the same opponent they just faced that make it work, that's pretty impressive.
I was going to say, do you think that maybe they kind of experienced the matchup against Ding, so they kind of got they came in with some data this time?
I think so. There's, there's a lot of data on Ding as well, like not just in their previous match, but in pretty much all of Shanghai's previous matches.
Download complete, baby. All right, well, guys, we're going into the second half. The Dallas Fuel up 2-0. Shanghai, they need to get back into this game. Final thoughts, what do they need to do to turn this game around?
It's got to be shutting down RCK, I think, on the Sombra. Like, it's clearly a tech strategy that they're employing here. They've clearly, like, got something planned to try and counteract it. I mean, the one thing you can do against Sombra play is by playing more aggressively into them, denying them away from getting a lot of these hacks off. That's what Shanghai needs to clean up here coming into the second half for me personally.
Yeah, I think so, too. I think trying to shut the Sombra down is the best thing they can do. And maybe a little bit tighter play in general, better communication. I do like Ding in over Gregory here. And I think that if they could just communicate how to shut down RCK where he is a little bit better, then this is a series they could certainly bring back.
All right, well, Ding has to go in on that Sombra if they want to turn this game around. Shanghai is down 0-2. Can they pull out the reverse sweep? We're going to find out in just a bit.
The Overwatch League is powered by Intel. Game, record, stream without compromise on Intel Core i7. And by Omen by HP, the official PC and display of the Overwatch League.
And in a match between the Dallas Fuel and the Shanghai Dragons, you'd better believe it's heating up. However, for the Dragons, they've seemed to go off the boil a little bit over those first two maps. The first map, Nepal, looked decent. We covered it over the halftime break. There were some opinions, there were some feelings expressed. Hollywood was definitely less of a close match.
I saw after map 1, I checked Twitter on my phone. Like I saw Effect, like he tweeted something to like along the lines of like, "What is going on?"
Yeah, he was. I mean,
map 1 was just a circus. Watch it, go back. Well, not now, but after, go back and watch it.
Let's have a look now at subs for this particular matchup here. And it will be, oh, is that Guardian? Guardian coming in for
so new, ain't even got the jersey yet.
If I'm not mistaken, he was with Toronto Esports, which is not to be confused with the Toronto Defiant. So he subs in for Ding here. So a bit of a revolving door in terms of that flex, I guess, the flex player. You know, we've seen sort of Ding play a couple of different heroes, Sombra and D.Va included. So, I mean, interested to see what Guardian has to provide.
Yeah, maybe we see them play Sombra again, but just connect with some more EMPs.
So is that your wish list?
Yeah.
More EMPs?
But expect him to probably play D.Va. Flex tank role, known for that. So we get into game. Do you see on the offense right now? He's hovering over the D.Va, but on offense, always the opportunity to switch it up anytime. Maybe they decide to, it'll be interesting, because you're seeing the Reinhardt here for the Dallas Fuel on defense. Usually you would say Winston on D, but if teams take point A here really quick, you still want the ult charge from point A for your Reinhardt.
I mean, it's just as well that Ding's not playing, because he can play the Farah into this, you know. That's something that is in his wheelhouse.
And the Dragons, they just want to go Ryan on Ryan. So I think the Dallas Fuel are okay with this.
Definitely seems to be where Gamsu is happiest. So they push through the choke. OG gets displaced, but not quite knocked off. Now, if OG were to fall off this ledge, it would be bad news. He tries to stay alive. He gets a repair pack, so he's able to return to the fray pretty much instantly now.
This is like classic Unco, like a turret back here,
There's less into those ticks as he gets those hits. Gamsu and Diem are down already, and now the rest of the Dragons are going to be run into the ground if they don't escape quickly. There are 3 players in that right-hand side room, and they're not going to get out with their lives.
You know, it's always fun when you watch Unco play. Sensitivity is so high. Like, you see how fast his crosshair is going, like, all over the screen, and he's still able to keep it so steady and just land shots consistently. It's pretty crazy to watch.
On previous teams, Unco was definitely considered by many, colloquially, of course, as like an extra DPS player. When he played with AKM on like very early French teams like Rogue, he would sit there with AKM's McCree and just sit in the back line. No one would ever touch them. This, though, looks a little bit messier. It's going to be a Transcendence here for the Shanghai Dragons, but Guardian's mech was eaten up by himself. Strike on RCK. What a finish. OG manages to get an entire team set up.
AKM in the corner. Good Graviton Surge. Got a lot of players inside of it. No follow-up, though, with the self-destruct, but, man, the shatter from OG at the end, massive.
Let's watch that as well. This is where OG's position is. He gets Gamsu out of the way, knows, you know, if Gamsu's not there to shield it, he's fine, and he gets everybody. That's
the most satisfying thing when you're a Reinhardt and you land one of those, you see everybody on the ground, you just start walking forward, swinging. The rally comes in here for the Dragons.
It's that classic Dragons running, but they catch RCK out. He's removed even just after he was desuited. So now the Fuel are down to 5. They do have a Transcendence here, but they'd much rather save it for DM's impending Graviton Surge. They may not have the liberty to do so, though. Gamsu is down. Dallas are doing a great job of disengaging and actually turning into, you know, a defensive structure, getting picks as they back away. Shadow, though. Yongjin was knocked down. OG gets a couple with that one. And now with Unco going for that Transcendence, it keeps the Fuel alive.
And the Fuel are going to get at full strength here as RCK comes off the spawn, and now you see everybody trying to run away for the Dragons. So, man, things have not looked good for the Dragons.
The Fuel look very good on the back foot in some of these fights, but as they're sort of disengaging, they're still able to get killed. AKM is still very charged up late into the fight, so they just back up. They lost RCK, early in the fight, and they were still able to hold on. The Dragons do have one support ultimate that the Fuel just straight up do not have. The Transcendence is only going to be coming out in red this fight.
This is a dangerous spot to go and push if you're the Dragons, because you think AKM has to grab a lot of, like, you can throw it on one of the walls here. There's a big Graviton Surge there. RCK with the bomb, it goes on through, gets nothing for it. The Dragons are going to use Transcendence as they did get OG there.
The rally here for the fuel will help a little bit, especially as this fight starts to come to a head, but they're missing OGE now.
The Dragons have to win this.
DM's going to push forward. If they lose this fight, I'd be shocked. Unco, very close to a Transcendence. He can actually get on the next couple of seconds and use it as a response to this Graviton surge. But DM just catches AKM out there on his own, and he's quickly removed. There was no chance for Unco to keep his team up with Transcendence, not with how they were split after that fight. So the Dragons spend a lot. They do get point A, and now they're going to try and snowball as quickly as they can, but no real big ults coming right up.
It was a nice grab from DM, though. He sees both tanks up on the high ground, decides to not throw it towards the supports, pick them off. So you just saw the Transcendence come out from Unco. Unco uses the Transcendence now. Dallas wants to get a little bit aggressive here. The Dragons with a good disengage.
You want to stop a potential snowball here from the Dragons. Reinhardt based 3-3 comps after getting point A are very scary in the moments immediately after that. Yongjin, does he get caught? Yes! Looks like line of sight was actually blocked. He couldn't get the Transcendence healing because he was on the other side of that stack of bricks. So that's painful for the Dragons. They just didn't get the optimal setup. And suffice to say that snowball has been averted for now.
So we'll see how Dallas decides to play this on D. Do they want to just keep pressing up, being the aggressive team? Because, you know, usually you like the aggression, but I think the Dragons have been really predictable with their offensive setups. That, you know, if you be the reactionary team here in the Dallas Fuel, you can kind of, you know, guess what's coming at each moment. They've done a good job, at least this far.
They were good at
predicting and reading the Dragons.
They were good at being reactive in their match against Seoul as well. Something I noticed from them. Just the use of closer. With speed boost to get them back out of trouble here. RCK's playing on the left-hand side. Now he's in the back line. Here's the Earth Shatter from OG. Already claimed by that one. Soundbarrier now immediately brought into the fight here, and the Dragons are trying to push up on the point. Gumsy's trying to get close to OG, but he was knocked away. He's down to one. OG tried to finish him off with the Fire Strike now, but he has to shield his self-destruct. At the last minute, OG turns his shield to prevent the fuel from being taken down by the explosion. Much more fighting still to be done, though. It's DM and Luffy caught inside that grab, and Transcendence was used. Oh, but Gamsu wasn't there to protect them, so they lose 2 to the self-destruct anyway.
Really good ult management from the Dallas Fuel. And when I spoke with the Dallas Fuel, I went by their facility. It's beautiful. And I spoke with Arrow and Tasmo and Jane and the rest of the guys. And they were really high on Closer's ability to track ultimates. You know, they were telling like this story, like, you know, they were trialing him out, like they were listening to the comms, and he was like 100% accurate all the time with percentages of who had what ultimate. I think you've really seen his shot calling like pay off today, where you see they're doing a really nice job of tracking the Dragons' ultimates.
DM and Gamsu stepping up. If they know, they'll know that Gamsu has an Earth Shatter right now. How do they play around that? Gamsu's just stuffed back inside the catacombs there, and Guardian's caught on his own on that left side, desuited. That hurts. Ooh. AKM's grab will definitely find a home.
Now you're stuck in a tough spot if you're the Dragons. Like, you want to push in, but you don't want to invest anything, and then Dallas knows you're not going to invest anything. So what do you do? Do you let them just build up towards another mech?
I mean, I think the Dragons need to wait for that.
They're not poking at all.
A repair pack got used on Guardian. That's how much the Dragons care about. Oh, no! He was just about to get his mech back!
That is like...
denies! That is actually a better stagger than we saw on Horizon earlier on. That is literally a stagger.
It's just the little things, man. Like the Dragons have the talent, just a little play.
A soul crushing though, isn't it? Like, oh, you see him, he's just about to hit that cube.
It burns like 20+ seconds off the clock, and Dallas did a nice job not letting them just build it up super quick.
He just dropped the mech in for a service. It was, you know, got about 180k miles on there. You know, had it re-detailed, nice splash put on there.
And now look, I mean, Dallas is in a position where you use maybe 1 or 2 ultimates. You win this fight, you have an advantage in this fight, even if you only use a few of those. And then you come back to the last fight, you have another ultimate advantage. You win that one, you hold on point B.
Well, batter up. The Dallas Fuel now going to have to receive this latest onslaught from the Dragons. Earthshatter comes in. Unco was one knocked down by that one. He doesn't have a chance to use Transcendence yet, but he doesn't really want to anyway. RCK's going to send that self-destruct into the backside. Everyone's being forced into that back room. I think it was an Earthshatter from OG to try and set up the self-destruct kill, but it didn't really work. Yongjin was at the front of the pack. Gamsu waited for a bubble while he was in the right room to charge on out and get some damage done. AKM still very healthy on the point, but look at Dallas. They're so split now. They're trading 1 for 1, and RCK is trying to keep Gamsu honest, but he can't really do much to stop Reinhardt's damage from being forthcoming. OG cut down. DM's able to remove him, and he's very well charged up here. It's just Closer that could stall out at this point. That's about it, really. RCK was desuited and had to go back. And the Dragons finished the round after some very compromising circumstances, put them in DEFCON 7 mode, it's safe to say. They were struggling to get things done now. With not much time, no time in the bank, now the Fuel's job is clear. First up, they're going to finish the map. We'll see you when Fuel come and attack. Nothing brings back the warm and fuzzy feelings of our inaugural season than a classic Dallas Fuel Shanghai Dragons slugfest. The Dragons have no time bank remaining after finishing the map, which means all Dallas need to do is finish the map with some time left themselves, and then they'll just have to capture 1/3 of point A. We'll keep you abreast of that as we progress, but that is the crux of it.
The Dragons will run Winston here on defense. So Dallas, you know, they stay on this Reinhardt. If they take point A pretty quick, you're going to have Gamsu switch over to that Reinhardt for point B, reset his ultimate. You could see like a real snowball chance here for the Dallas Fuel.
Gamsu trying to get in the cookie jar there. 50%, by the way, charge on this Primal Rage. That's a lot for the first couple moments of this.
I mean, Winston's gun does like a lot of cleave damage, right? So with everybody so grouped up, just being that little area,
you're in range of it, you'll be hit by it.
Yes.
RCK just trying to rattle the cage of the Dragons on that high ground a little bit on that Diva. And he dropped down to the point and he can come back and tickle that one. The Fuel are trying to out-rotate the Dragons here and pick off the players that were left behind on that platform, but they were able to get out of trouble. The Dragons are a very mobile composition with the exception of probably DM and Yongjin here.
So the Dallas Fuel decide they want to go up to the high ground, the Dragons rotate out. What you could see here is Dallas like try and have one player go to the low ground, and then you're maybe trying to split some players off here. So just get a good idea of where the Dragons players are going to position themselves. Find one player alone that you feel like you can take advantage of and isolate.
See him sitting up the back. Zachary's like, Unco, my son, everything the light touches is our lands. Stay up here. Let me help you heal the rest of my team properly. Gamsu in Primal Rage is low. That Discord Orb is gonna make it hurt. They get OG just before the Transcendence comes out. It's still a trade in terms of main tanks here. Arguably, the Reinhardt loss hurts a little bit more.
That's all three
The Fuel have that first tick on the point map. The Fuel have positional control now. The Dragons have to rotate high and lose yet another point before they can really come back. But they do get Zachary, so they're rewarded for that. DM has a Graviton Surge. He's actually sucked into one himself there. YK was trying to make the difference. They just left that self-destruct right on top of DM's head. It's not really enough here from the Fuel to secure the point. OG comes back while most of his teammates are already gone. They get 2 ticks, but that's all they'll have.
And, you know, towards the end on the defensive side for the Dallas Fuel, they ended up using some of their support ultimates at the same time. So you usually like to see them spaced out, and, you know, not overlap them. And that time you saw them use 2 support ults at the same time. On the defensive side, it was Rally and Sound Barrier used at the same exact time. I believe it's the same 2 that were used here at the same exact time. I think they were trying to save OG in this scenario, though, down on the low ground, as Zachary may not have been able to make it. But just something to watch out for. You can't keep layering those support ultimates on top of each other. You gotta, you know, you chain one into another into the next.
Only use as required. Gamsu put that bubble down. Oh, that's a shatter and a half! Guardian and Gamsu both not down. Guardian's in deep trouble. That's definitely a deep mech. It'll be a self-destruct and an attempted remake, but Unco took down the pilot Diva after Guardian left his mech. means he can't get back in. Gamsu doing a good job of zoning Unko away from his team, preventing that Transcendence healing from being there, but he eventually sips through the gaps. Now a Transcendence from the Shanghai Dragons and Luffy. It needs to be very good here. Luffy pops out of it, and Unko playing super aggressively in the front line, essentially, to try and chunk down the enemies in Yara, but RCK gets the final blow. Gamsu being down now, and Yongjin won't make it back to the point. Now for the Fuel, it's simple. Capture point B.
But when you see Unko in that position, there's nobody really putting pressure on him or getting in his face. And when you give a player like Unko, such a talented flex support, you can put down tons of damage, that much space. It's a huge opportunity. A lot of players stuck in the grab. RCK with the bomb.
Oh! That looked like it could have been a lot worse. OG's charge was a little bit early to try and set up the shield block to make sure that Gamsu forced his team to eat that self-destruct. Still, it's starting to go on here, and it's forced the Salvo out for the Shanghai Dragons. They are losing players very quickly. One tick now for the Dallas Fuel. On this point, we're still 4 minutes and 20 seconds on the clock. You know what that means? They got a lot of time left. DM goes down. Attempted May here for Luffy as he moves on to the point, but he's used the ice block already. In mid-air, Gamsu was booted back. He can't really get the setup he was looking for, and Luffy is taken down by that Earth Shatter. 2 ticks now for the Dallas Fuel, still with 4 minutes left. Guardian steps up to the plate here. Yongjin not too far behind, but Guardian has a Discord Orb, and it's a Graviton Surge, another one, on towards Yongjin in the corner. AKM gets 2 Gravitons in the space of 1 fire, and the Fuel are well on track to take this map away, Matt.
Very strong attack there for the Dallas Fuel. So I know Unko doing a fantastic job on the Zenyatta. AKM with those 2 grabs there towards the end. Give the Dallas Fuel a chance to take the series right after the break.
The path is clear for the Dallas Fuel to take not only this map, but also this series, which would give them the 2-0 in head-to-heads against the Shanghai Dragons over their last 2 consecutive matches. I'd be happy with that, Matt.
You know what's interesting looking at some of the stats is we'll get a replay here from Closer's POV. So this is the grab.
It gets in there, doesn't
up at the end. Yep, nice boot. But just how the healing's kind of distributed amongst these 2 teams, very interesting. So I know Unko with 39% of the healing here for the Dallas Fuel, 41% for Zachary. And you look over on the Dragon side, and Luffy has a ton of healing, Mitch. 20K right now, 53% of the team. You have Yongjin with only 10K, so he's getting out healed by Zachary in the Brigitte role by about 4,000 there, which is massive.
Huge amounts of healing from Zachary.
Well, I mean,
Luffy as well.
Luffy's got 11K in Transcendence healing alone.
20K all up, yeah, we've seen that today. That's interesting. Gamsu discorded, doesn't really seem to mind too much. And the Fuel take this high ground again.
I mean, this is the same way they took it last time. Jump onto the point, try and bait some players down, right?
Nice shot from RCK there. He actually keeps Unko pretty safe on the high ground.
And the more pressure that the Dragons have to put on the point, the more free reign Unko's going to have on the high ground and just start laying down some discords and some shots.
No one's pressuring him down right now. Unko actually chooses to drop. Perhaps he was trying to evade Gamsu, assuming Gamsu would go straight to the high ground. Unko would hide behind OGE, and Gamsu gets taken down. He actually really had nowhere to go. In a pitched battle, head-to-head, Winston struggles against Reinhardt, shielding the rest of his team. Gamsu didn't have a back way in or a way to get anything done. Dallas Fuel go 3-0 in this series, and that means that they have already won it. There's one more map to play, which is very crucial, considering how both of these teams are on the cusp of win or out in terms of the playoffs. We're back with our last map in just a few moments.
The Overwatch League is brought to you by Toyota, official North American partner of the Overwatch League. Toyota, let's go places.
Well, the victor in this match has already been decided after a fiery first 3 maps. And that was the first map 3 that Dallas Fuel has actually won the season map.
First assault one, so good job to the Dallas Fuel. Coaching paying off, Arrow doing a fantastic job getting the team ready for the match here against the Dragons. Don't think expected like the craziness of this match has been this far, really scrappy. Surprised the Dragons didn't play Reinhardt on defense in that last defense point there on Anubis. I think after how their defense went the first time, they probably could have just opted into the Ryan-on-Ryan matchup.
I don't think they were afraid of Dallas cheesing them out or going for this like DPS heavy composition to
They
mess
didn't
them up.
the first time. I mean, if you wanna go in and change the way you play at the end. So as we mentioned here a lot, every map does matter. So right now, if the Dragons do take this final map, that would be a clinching scenario for the stage playoffs for the Vancouver Titans. So the Vancouver Titans somewhere, Bumper, he's hanging out. He just realized, he just turned the match on. He's like, oh, I'm a Dragons fan now, right? So if the Dallas Fuel do win 4-0 though, obviously everything's still fluid there in the top 8 for the stage playoffs.
You get to see the Fuel have recouped their pretty average map differential now to ±0. So they're pretty happy with that. And that could matter in a case if there's the potential.
0 is still not ideal, but okay.
No, but if there are a bunch of 5 and 2 teams or 4 and 3 teams that need to be separated somehow, you don't want to be the one that misses out because if you lost a map here or there. We got a substitution coming into map number 4 here. And it will be Ding rejoining the Dragons roster.
All right, so with Ding coming in, Dallas should be expecting some Sombra play. Dallas probably opts into playing Sombra of their own, a lot like what happened on Hollywood. We need to see Ding getting better than like solo EMPs. I know RCK pretty much doubled them up in terms of players EMP'd and hacked back on Hollywood. So if you're going to run the Sombra, you got to get a lot of value.
I think it's got more to do with how the Dragons are trying to start these fights, man. We think back to that Hollywood fight when the Dragons were attacking and they were chasing OG down. They used EMP just to get him. I mean, by the way, if you want to hack one person, just right.
What'd you say in the last map? It's a vintage Dragons like
it
rally.
It feels like
we've only seen it for one game, but
no. I mean, it was the scoreline. It was like a vintage season 1 experience, like a brawl between the Fuel and the Dragons.
Because a lot of teams do use the rally to engage, but it was pretty like when they were playing around these fights, they're just kind of pushing into the chokes, kind of lingering. They're kind of waiting for the other shoe to drop, and that's when the EMP comes through.
We have a trap remix now for this Route 66 song. It's the only map we have it on. I don't know why. I don't know where it came from. I dig it. So the Dragons started the attack here. Shocker! Both teams are playing some.
Yep, not too surprising. So both teams now have swapped sides. So the Dragons are on offense, but now they're just going to the high ground, dropping down, trying to play from the other side here.
And RCK's in such an annoying spot right now. Just straight up behind him. He was on the high ground before. He chose to reveal himself by shooting for a bit.
And you don't...
OG, careful.
He attacked there as well.
There he got taken down by the fire strike. I mean, as far as burst damage goes, that's about as burst as you're going to get from these comps. Either Zen, right clicks, or fire strikes. Still,
Dallas still kind of coming out on this is you do get a hack on the Youngjin, not able to burst down the Brigitte though. Brigitte too strong.
Youngjin's... Okay. Gamsu comes back and the Dragons have managed to break through here. I mean, they were always going to spawn much closer and the Fuel would always have backed up after that first fight, but still.
Dallas does build up towards some ultimates though. I mean, look at RCK versus Ding in terms of Sombra, right? 100 to like 60 right now. Zachary and Youngjin both have rallies available, but AKM has doubled up DM, so you're going to get some key ultimates here earlier for the Dallas Fuel on D.
How about that one? That's an EMP. That one found 3. Gamsu down, in fact, it was 4. In fact, with Gamsu being included there. Youngjin able to rally, despite the fact that he was EMP'd, and Ding's able to find AKM, just skirting around the edge of the fight. RCK was able to hack the guy up, but I think the Dallas Fuel were done what they needed to do now, but this is a bit dangerous here.
Oh, RCK very close there.
Okay.
Oh, I'm surprised he even takes those battles.
But you can't burst him down. Now, shield bash only does 5 damage, not 50.
It's so brig scary. I mean, all he needs is any type of damage coming from another source. Closer had to go back, but he goes back for a good reason. Speed boost AKM back. So AKM back in the fight. Gets hacked right away as Unco, the Transcendence is there just half a second late.
Wow. OG suffering a bit of rigor mortis there. Gamsu was hacked early in that fight, by the way, by RCK. He made sure he got him as he dropped down from behind, but didn't really stop him from walking up and swinging this hammer, which was all the Dragons were trying to do there. AKM never got a chance to leverage his ult lead on DM either.
No, as both Zarias will have Graviton Surge, and Youngjin able to build up towards another rally. Saw Unko's face on stage actually, just really frustrated after that because he knows he was in the right position with the Transcendence, use it as fast as possible, but the burst damage just comes in OG so fast that there's no way for him to get down.
I don't know. Have you seen what Unko's face expression normally is?
Yeah, but he looked super upset there. He looked really frustrated, like.
He's a man of few words, but it is always written on his face. OG forced back here. Transcendence, okay. So the Dragons want to use this one aggressive. That's really interesting. AKM still grabs into that one, and there's a big EMP. The whole front line of the Dragons were knocked down with no shielding on whatsoever. And I like that. The Dragons trying to take a fight early. Yeah. The fuel were pushed up. But they had to chase for that one. I mean, they ended up using the Transcendence early on in the fight, Shanghai did, and it gave AKM some time to have them grabbed without the healing from their Zen.
And I mean, look, the Dragons down 3-0 obviously in the series, but a few different things go their way. They come in with like maybe a little bit of a cleaner terms of like calling and when they want to engage with some of these ultimates. And they're right there with the Dallas Fuel. You can see why these teams' records are so close. But the Dallas Fuel just have the small things down. Unko again pops the Transcendence, was out of the way. Did a good job avoiding getting EMP just a half a second late there.
Shanghai disengaged still.
There's nothing he can really do there to keep OG up. The Shatter comes down, they connect on AKM, they burst him down. Shanghai going on the offensive here.
Maybe maybe Unko almost wishing he was hacked there so that the fight was over longer. They didn't get staggered out. But however, there was only one person on the payload for most of that fight, so it didn't go very far.
I mean, he is playing it right, Unko. Like, you want to stay out of the line side of the EMP, then you want to use the Transcendence.
Yes.
It's just sometimes you have to play so safe that you're not able to make it back. So the payload moving through. Second part of the map is you can see that gate. That's checkpoint B there. So if they can make it to the gate, they'll open up that door and we'll go to the end as Youngjin destroying all of the banisters here.
And about it. RCK trying to go for a hack on him, but from above was DM. Gamsu dangerously low, and a very clutch Transcendence keeps him alive. It looks like if you want to fight this time, and they get 3 of those EMPs, but it's still going to be a sound barrier from Coma. He still managed to keep the Dragons topped up.
And that was great from the Dragons. Instead of just everybody getting EMP'd and died, Coma stays out of line of sight, able to land the sound barrier after. It'll be AKM who uses the Graviton Surge to follow up, not there for the fuel.
See, unlike Transcendence, sound barrier actually gets taken off you if you get EMP'd during it. Speaking of which, Unko, great timing in that one, but still the burst damage was enough to take down Zachary. And Unko probably frustrated. He's had multiple Transcendences at good times, and it hasn't been enough to save the rest of his team.
Yeah, I mean, look, you may think, like, just watching it from the overall POV, like, man, like, the Transcendences really haven't been getting anything. But, like, you're using them at the right time.
The theory behind them is correct.
The theory behind them is correct. His positioning is very good not to get hit. Just not getting a lot of value out of him, right?
I mean, like, he's trying to Transcendence and then someone dies to, like, a charge or some other form of burst damage or Discord Fire Strike or Zen right click.
I think one of the bright spots for the Dragons here today, Mitch, has been Komi and Luffy. Had very good games. Ding there with the EMP. You can see the push start to come through, but
just really solid push here from the Dragons in general. For a second there, I thought the Ding had been discovered as he was about to try an EMP. That's cute. But he wasn't, and he got that off.
Yeah, Luffy's getting a Transcendence every minute 9 seconds, doing a nice job, in terms of healing in damage. Toe-to-toe with Unko.
Faster than Unko on the charge.
Yeah. So I think the Dragons, that was really the Dragons' big downfall last year, right? Their supports. I mean, they had nothing really going on there. So this year, though, looks to be vastly different. Big pick on Unko. You can push through with your own Transcendence here.
They get the sound barrier. The Dallas Fuel had to use some sort of ultimate. Unko didn't have an ult anyway. I mean, a 4-man EMP. Gamsu doesn't seem to be too bothered by it. It's just Dallas Fuel trying to get away from this fight in general. Been very solid for the Shanghai Dragons on this map. Haven't really been styled up too much at all. Payload is being contested, or was being contested briefly by Closer. He now gets taken down. OG moves in with that shadow, but he has to get off the payload and charge in. He gets back just in time to get beat down. And the Dragons get across the line with a very respectable time.
Really good ult rotations there from the Dragons. In terms of their support ults, you're connecting with the EMPs in a big way. 11 there. Players connected with the EMP from Ding in the first half. So Dragons looking much better here in our map 4.
From what we just said, like, the Dragons do win this map. It means that through a complex series of calculations and equations.
Yeah, Sideshow sitting at home with his calculator and his protractor adding it all up.
His sock mic.
He's got the compass out,
bag of
all the math, yep.
You can stay there, Sideshow, by the way, we're fine. OG trying to yeah, again, go for the game changer here, but didn't quite make the big difference.
Yeah, sound barrier from Koma keeps it Luffy alive as he gets pinned there, and then OG in a world of trouble.
Yeah, so I'm saying the Vancouver Titans do get through if the Dragons win this match.
Yes.
They make playoffs.
Which the Dragons are in a tremendous position to do that. Taking all 3 points with 1:20 in the bank, I mean, you got to try pretty hard to lose this one. I mean,
Huge lead. Even finishing this map is difficult enough in and of itself.
I wonder if the Fuel try this Symmetra strat that we saw the other day, where they teleported up to the high ground and then switch off of it to get some kind of high ground advantage.
It does mean that the person switching off Symmetra ends up behind the rest of the team, but if it's D.Va, they can just boost up there.
But let's say, for argument's sake, what they could do is like teleport. I thought maybe teleport and then use the Ana for like a biotic grenade going backwards, but we'll see if they decide to use this teleporter. This would be good if the Dragons played close. The Dragons kind of hiding around this corner here.
The Dragons might be ready for this, though. If it's going to go on top of the train cart that Koma's standing on. All right.
Oh, there it is.
Okay, that's not too bad. It's just
okay.
Right, so we've seen teams try and use it on that left-hand side. RCK just switches to Sombra here. AKM was hacked immediately, which is kind of annoying for him because he gets 0 charge at the start of this fight. And he's not going to get any from that bubble either. Oh, dear. Okay, up the cart they go.
Gamsu must have hit a big fire strike as well. 74%.
That is huge. Yeah, I guess they're all lined up, man. Inside. Oh! Unco downrange finds Luffy. RCK went down at the same time, but finding that pick there is just massive.
Well, now it puts you in a weird position because the Sombra is going to respawn directly behind you and the Dallas Fuel are on the other way. It's not the intended
That's
strategy.
exactly where RCK wants to be, man.
Yeah.
Gamsu's very low here.
Also, the card is moving.
Yeah.
Usually during this, like, you're able to contest if you're the Dragons, but they let the card move all the way around by Big Earls. It's really odd to see.
Yeah, I would say this hasn't gone the way the Dragons would have liked it to there. And the reason why it was moving is because, quite frankly, the Dragons were being very slow to engage on the Fuel after that exchange of support players. Or the Sombra versus the Zenyatta switch.
Yeah, and OG makes up all of that, and I said Gamsu is way ahead. He was like 74 to like 20. OG makes it all up in that fight.
They are very close to that first checkpoint now. 4 meters away. Earth Shadow, oh! It does catch OG. It looks like the RCK was able to get out of there with the translocator. But OG, that kill was definitely confirmed. And again, Ding bullying Unco. Yeah, that's where the Dragons need to focus their attention.
Oh, well, they needed to focus their attention to the cart, though, Mitch.
That was cheeky.
As
That was so
closer
cheeky.
behind enemy lines, so...
Well, you know,
Even when things are going right, they're not going right.
not the first time it happened today. We always earlier.
No. But still, it's tough for the Dragons. You put together a good fight. The back half there, it's like it rains of pores, right? As
Lucio players, huh? God. All right, the EMP was 3 players, but not Unco. So the Dragons now, they're in deep trouble. They still managed to get their own Transcendence also. So both teams in Yada's able to avoid getting EMP'd respectively. Now that Transcendence has timed down, with that Graviton Surge, this might start to snowball a little bit out of control. Bear in mind, the Dragons already finished this map, so if they could stop Dallas from doing that, and they have at least half of the map left to do so, there is still hope.
And it's a great opportunity for RCK to counter EMP. When they use the EMP, most likely, I mean, you wouldn't use it and not engage. It would just be kind of, actually super pointless. So the Dragons, you know they're going to come in once the EMP goes off. That this will be a grab use by DM. They catch OG. OG is trying to go for like some flank shatter, some kind of bumper move there. He gets caught out in the middle of nowhere. So
on the bright side, he didn't use Shatter.
No, and I mean you did end up having them use grab to kill one player, but it does buy them some time and it allows them to stabilize, which it seemed like things were getting out of control.
Bear in mind, RCK is sat on the payload. He can actually push the payload. Why
Not again.
RCK's just moving that payload along this whole time.
He's very close.
Okay,
to
he's been spotted now.
I would hope.
Just translocate out. Looks like the Fuel might use this as an opportunity to try and
wrap around,
rotate and engage here. Okay. Closer on the high ground. Again, if you can boot Gamsu off the high ground or someone off there and sort of deny that advantage from them. EMP, it's 6 people. RCK gets 2 kills very quickly on the follow-up. And, well, I'll be honest with you, the Dragons got completely bamboozled there.
There's nothing they can do.
From RCK, drawing them back to the payload.
When you have that many players getting hit by an EMP, there's really such a, like, no chance of winning that.
You can see what Closer was trying to do on top of that main building as well. Make sure that he could boot members of the Dragons into that EMP, get them off the high ground, make sure they were all playing together around the payload to get max bang for buck.
And it's kind of the same thing as Hollywood, Mitch. You know, Ding right now with 13 enemies EMP to RCK's 25 enemies hacked. You know, you're going to see Ding jump up to 31 there. 36 still in the lead for RCK.
Another Transcendence, though, that Unco is able to get off despite there being an EMP, and then he gets DM for good measure. They're going to run Gamsu down pretty quickly. He does get a part and get to Fire Strike. Singes Zachary's visage, sends him back to spawn. But this is going to be another wash here for the Dallas Fuel, and they have 3.5 minutes on the clock still.
And with how difficult it is for the supports to play around these EMPs, I think the supports for both teams have actually done a really nice job with it. I know Koma and Luffy for the Dragons, and then Unco and Closer for the Fuel. And even sometimes when they play it the right way and they play the percentages game, it still doesn't work out. As the Fuel now have taken the high ground here, as the Dragons rally, so you'll be able to just wait this out if you're Dallas. You know you have an advantage in terms of time.
Well, everyone on the Dragons even benefited from that. You notice there was not a lot of armor for Koma. He wasn't
Seemed a
in
little
that
rushed.
rally. Yeah. I mean, they were split. You want a rally when you're all together. That's literally what the ability says. Okay, here it is. Graviton Surge on the high ground. Immediately Sound Barrier, and there's really no one there to follow up on the damage. All the Dragons were playing on the low ground, too far away. EMP. What they were looking for. Gamsu, DM, Yongshino were all stunned up by a huge shatter from OG, and still the Sound Barrier gives the Dragons the ability to push forward and fight. Closer. Oh, he's trying to back away from this one. The Fuel are trying to get the payload as far as they can and try and work on the half of the Dragons to split up.
That was a much better EMP there from Ding. Connects with a few players, specifically Unco there, so you don't have Transcendence. Shanghai, Koma uses Sound Barrier, able to engage. It's a good fight for the Dragons. So that graph that they end up using, it was nice. They captured a bunch of players up on the high ground. I don't know who's going up there to finish them off, though.
I look good, though.
Don't have like a diva up there for positioning or anything along those lines.
I mean, I appreciate the aesthetic value of it. This one, though, might just be a little bit more effective outside of looking good here. OG goes for that charge in. There was no bomb to set up with. There's no divas in this match right now. But still, that Transcendence from Unco makes it just so easy for the Fuel to keep pushing forward in a fight where they're not necessarily going to win. Like, they get a couple picks, there's still a lot of damage on the table. As soon as they EMP, they just move up, they know they can win.
And I think there towards the end, as OG lands a shatter at the door, just trying to prevent Gamsu from getting on. As he does come back here, Ding trying to make this interesting, stall it out. Yeah, this should be the Fuel able to get onto the point here towards the end, but Luffy comes through, DM just trying to stay alive here, putting down some damage. He gets hacked up as well.
EMP late in the fight. 3 people EMP now. Luffy low on the point. Closer OG Zachary there. Koma's low. Now it's going to be a 4v2. The players are here for the Dallas Fuel. They can keep this one going. Payload inching ever closer. Gamsu seems to have actually been hit by that stun. Even though he was essentially out of line of sight, but it must have just hit him, his back leg.
And it's so hard to get the Wrecking Ball off of the cart, right? You have the shields. You see he's going to the ground slam. He drops now, but you're able to have some of the Dragons come alive here off the spot.
And the Dragons now have gotten Dallas behind them in terms of time bank. They'll be happy with that one indeed. I mean, it's a long map, so getting a minute and 20 on its own is pretty darn good. The Dallas Fuel have their time bank burnt down to about 55 seconds remaining. So it's going to be a 5-second boost for both teams to get Dallas up to 1 minute. And we'll see you guys for the conclusion of this map right around the corner. Righto, here we are back on Route 66. Dallas have a minute left. We're all high. Shanghai, a minute 27. Here's what happened in the final moments here. I believe this was OG's shatter. Watch Gamsu try and roll. Oh no, okay, that was
not able to get to the car.
And Yonji might have liked a shield bash, but you notice he was hacked in that final moment, so that wasn't going to be happening.
You know, one of the final fights before, and I think one of the things when the Dragons go back and look at the VOD, they can probably kind of start to change up, get on the same page, is when Dallas is pushing them closer towards the end, you had Koma and Luffy alive, and then DM, and both supports go one way, DM goes the other. And they just run over DM, so he loses all his Zarya charge. The supports end up staying alive for a bit longer, but you know, get everybody going the same way, staying together, I think would have been much more effective as Dallas on offense here. See if they can do. Limited time, only a minute to push this card as far as possible.
Yeah, it looks like this is just how their playbook has it, Matt. They circle around the Dragons, who are defending, and put the Dragons in a spot where they can't really take cover. They have to come and contest the payload, and very one-sided affair this time around.
So Ding has to back up. So, you start to get desperate in some of these scenarios when the OT time starts dwindling down and the music starts playing. We'll see, the Dragons, they have to just stay composed, put together a few good fights here. So Ding's gonna try and go around. He caught Unko the last time sitting up on this ledge. See if he can catch him off guard again.
Ding very far away from an EMP. RCK is right on the cusp of it.
Oh,
Luffy
big pick.
gets Unko across the map. Long range work, and a third of that healing core is now missing. Here's an EMP though, catching on a 4 from the Shanghai Dragon. Jongjin, he's looking rough in the backside. This Closer was chasing for that one. If OG didn't get it, he would have. Koma and Luffy playing close together, and Diem is able to protect them with his body, but Luffy eventually gets knocked clean out. Now RCK looking for whatever he can hack, and it'll be the health pack first. The Dallas Fuel want to try and set up as much of a long run as they can. And mate, you'd expect the Dragons to try and fight Dallas close here, just outside of this first checkpoint.
They should be able to. EMP, Shatter, and Transcendence. Most likely you'll get your own Graviton Surge in Rally. The Dragons, you combo some of these, very, very difficult for Dallas to power through. Even if Dallas had all of their ultimates, right? You think you can use some of these together for the Dragons to even power through something along those lines, where not a lot of firepower available for the Dallas Fuel. You do have Soundbarrier and possibly Transcendence here, so we'll see if Closer and Unko can play this positioning game.
Ding out there on the dark web, looking to do some hacking. There it is. OG blown up. Oh, they get off the payload. Nicely done.
It's just a grab off the cart. Nothing you can do.
Easy as you like. OG taken down early on, so there wasn't really any way they would have stopped follow-up damage regardless. So that is where the Fuel's push will end. And it's really simple for the Dragons. They just have to exceed that distance, which was 1 checkpoint plus 74.55 meters, which is no median game to you, which is fine. You guys use feet or something.
The Dragons, the Dragons get point A, get a little bit further, and the Vancouver Titans make the same play.
You see, they were already hiding from a potential EMP,
and the grab just
seals their fate.
Brings everybody in for a group hug.
Just a real lovely moment there. A lot of affection. There's probably no love lost between these two teams. The Dragons and the Fuel went back and forth very heavily last year as well, now in the inaugural season. They played many times together, and there were some very close games between Dallas and the Dragons. The Dragons never prevailed, though.
And I think coming into this year, I think the Dragons had much higher expectations, right? I know a lot of people predicting them potentially stage playoffs into season playoffs. I think some nerves for some of the. A lot of these players are new. They don't have the experience of last year, right? To come in, I think you put together something like, let's say, if you can get, maybe like a 3 and 4 stage with the Dragons, or let's say you finish, just above 500. I think that would be great for the Dragons as well.
Yeah, everything in its own place, right? Okay, RCK down. Okay, very early. Diem was able to pick him off there. He was actually behind them at the time, so maybe they just turned on him. And now the Fuel, who were defending, just need to sort of die on the card here. They need to push up and just end the fight on the payload. That did not go well for them at all.
No, ideal first defense here for the Dragons. RCK, he goes all the way behind enemy lines. See him up on Big Earls. Just kind of waiting there for his team to come back. So the Dragons now, they're going to have Ding up here, just trying to...
Yeah, Ding is looking for RCK.
He's trying to get a hack on RCK when RCK fell back.
Oh, no, really? He was 1v6 Ding against the Fuel. It was not the RCK. What?
That's huge. So now Gamsu will have Shatter coming up. You don't even think Dallas fights this. The Dragons still, time is against them here. They have to get to that golden box victory.
No, they won't fight this.
RCK is going to be careful. He's out over on the bridge. Yeah.
This payload probably gets through now. It takes some time for the door to open, so we are going to be in overtime by the time the payload gets here. So it's still just one fight that Dallas need to win, but what ultimates do they actually have, really? Close to switch to the Ana here, because they know they're not going to be running. Wow, Ding!
And he's got,
He was just too deep. He was pushed in. Ding would have had an EMP for this fight, but now the Dragons are without him. Youngjin's also gone down. They're going to throw the Transcendence into this fight and hope to try and make something happen with only 4 players. The Fuel patiently let them back up a little bit here. Who's going to swing into this grab? Gamsu, be dangerous for him to do that. EMP connects here, and it hits very hard. 4 players.
RCK's got EMP as well.
He's going to use it back now. 4 players on the Shanghai Dragons. Gamsu down already. AKM found DM. Up towards the side. Kova's trying to stay alive, but it forced off the payload. And the Dallas Fuel. What on earth was that? Sombra's dying in the weirdest places.
Zachary's got his hands up in the air like, what? Like, he has no idea how they escape with that one.
Delayed EMP from RCK, despite them having lost a couple of players. A clean 4-0 for the Dallas Fuel. And I will reveal this publicly. We're kind of, we're unsure going into this match. I talked to AKM, he said, I don't know, dude, like this could be,
Dragons are tough.
this could be it. And the Dragons, propelled by the desire to collect that salty run back, but the Fuel remain undefeated by the Shanghai Dragons and go 4-2. Still very much a chance for their playoff chances, their playoff odds on the line. They've got to come out of this season, this stage, more than 500.
And the 4-0 maps is huge there for Dallas. You needed to make up something in the map count department in terms of win-loss. Getting a 4-0 here is massive.
Oh, this is going to be a fun one. I'll give you the big tip. Let's head down to the floor with Mika and young Zachary.
Thanks, guys. We got Zachary here. Give it up for Zachary, Overwatch Arena. You are the new blood on the Dallas Fuel. You're kind of the rookie, but you've been getting a lot of play time. What is the switch like going from contenders to OWL? What's your mentality?
So contenders to OWL, a lot of it, like Overwatch League teams have a lot more resources than contenders teams. So your coaching staff, like the top-down views, like there's a lot more analysis you can put into the game. So there's a lot more intricate stuff than in contenders, where it's mostly just like, all right, we have these comps, let's just play better than them. But in Overwatch League, like especially with Dallas, where we have a bunch of coaching staff and we have a lot of resources, like we get so much feedback and strategies and so much intricate stuff that we can do in order to like be better than everybody else. So it's a lot more structured.
Well, it seems to be working out. You guys are doing pretty well. And speaking of which, you guys are a huge contender for being in these stage playoffs, and your last match of the stage will be up against Boston Uprising. How are you feeling going into that? Do you have any strategies you guys are working on, or are you just really hunkering down and going for the basics?
I think we're really confident moving forward. Like this match against Shanghai was really important to us because now we have the big green 1, so we're positive in map score for once. So it was very good to give us a chance, and the teams that we need to be like losing, so we have a really good chance we're losing this week. So going into the Boston, I think we're just gonna focus on basics, just play goats, and just make sure we're clean and fixing all the issues that we had this match.
Well, congratulations on your big green 1, and congratulations on your win today. That's all we have down here. Back to you, Mitch and Matt.
There we go. Not too shocking to hear what the plan is going to be for the Dallas Fuel moving forward, but one match left inside the stage for them. Look at them now at number 5.
And the Boston match is certainly winnable. You win that, you go to 5-2 for the stage. That green 1 turns into like a green 3, and I mean, look where they can go. Jump right up to the top.
I mean, they do have a chance to get themselves into the top 4 here. Our last couple of weeks are going to be incredible for playoff implications, I'll tell you that. It's time now to announce our player of the match, brought to you by Omen by HP, and it has to be the boy, Benny. Unko comes out with the honors today.
Yeah, I think he's just a tremendous flex support. In a league where we have so many flex supports, I think Unko kind of goes underappreciated at times. He can deal damage with the best of them, right? The positioning with the transcendences, always in the right spot. Unko deserves some love today.
That was an important pick on Guardian there, who was just going to re-mech and keep fighting on that point. Took the Zenyatta orb to the knee, was never the same since. Unko, great performance from him over the course of this match. 109 eliminations, 23 deaths, but more importantly, 32 final bros. So, in the head-to-head, like the kills that he gets to deaths, he's positive. So.
And I mean, the damage amplified by the Discord orb is huge as well. 20k damage. I mean, that is a great use of the Discord orb, providing some extra resources for the rest of the team.
Well, it's been quite the day, ladies and gentlemen, from breaking bread with friends to kicking things off here on a Friday. We made it rain a couple times, and so did the Vancouver Titans in their first matchup. There were so many super faces in the crowd. We even had goats. More than we normally had. We'll see you guys tomorrow for some more Overwatch League action. Tune in. It's going to be a great weekend.
The Overwatch League is brought to you by T-Mobile. High ground or low ground, T-Mobile has you covered.